in one of my grandfather's hotels, the one in Leillateah, nearly 93 years ago, 1925 it was. I'm now Mary Heritage. It used to be Mary Ogilvy, and I've had a pretty colourful life. I've been to sea on the Leillateah, which we owned when we got married, and I spent 3 years full-time on board as the only female that was a full-time ketch hand. The ketches played a big part in South Australia. They virtually opened up the state because they were operating long before there were any road or rail, so they really did open the state up. And I realised that there were only 4 ketches left. I suddenly thought, well, there's no copy, there's no record of this, so I started writing my little book. The story about the skipper's mate on the Lily, it's called, had the reflections of what I spent with the 3 years that I was on board. Yeah, well, the Leillateah was 100 feet overall in length and 20-foot beam, and she carried 84 tonne of grain. She used to be a 3-master originally. They took the middle mast out and just kept the 2 to make it easier for loading and unloading at sea. And it meant we could sail with 1 less crew. And Murray was my husband, and his grandfather brought it up from Tasmania originally. He bought it and brought it up to Adelaide, and it was owned by the 3 heritage clan. There was old Grandpa Sweeker, they used to call him, and then his son Alf, he was in the Navy, and in fact both wars, and as a warrant officer, and when he got out of the Navy he took it over, and then when my husband Murray took it over, when he got out of the Navy, we had it for 10 years. That was 3 heritage skippers, one after the other, you know. Well, the mosquito fleet actually played a big part in the state's history because they used to bring all the goods from the peninsula over to Adelaide and take all their general stuff over there as well for them. This is in the days before there were any engines. They used to sail all the way. They would go up on the beach when they got to whatever port they were going to, run up on the beach, and the farmers used to come down with their horse and dray and load the wheat. They'd go out and row out the wheat or wool or whatever they were trading in, and then at high tide they would let the ketch go again, sail away, and that's how they did the loading. There was no jetties or wharves or anything when they first started this, so they actually opened up South Australia long before there were any roads or trains or anything like that. They didn't exist, so they really opened the state up in the first place. They'd all disappeared eventually, going, and it was very sad actually. When she was still in Tassie, before Grandpa brought it up here, she used to work for the IXL jam factory people and bring that up into the mainland. She used to bring all that sort of, and timber. She used to cut timber and bring that up as well. But they had a fairly good run down there with her. But she's had a fairly exciting experience for a ketch. She's been caught in all sorts of blows, and she was known to be one of the prettiest ketches that existed in South Australia, and she really was. And Murray and his family used to keep it in very good trim, painted up every year and cleaned the bottom, and it was always in good nick. And the other main thing that she was noted for, she always had good food, where a lot of them would take a stick of Fritz and a loaf of bread, and the 2 of them exist on that, you know, but we always had good meat and vegetables. And of course when I was there I used to do the cooking, but she always was known that she fed the boys well, and that made a big difference. So we kept some of them for 2 or 3 years instead of just a short period. I only went on board when we got married first, mainly to go and see what it was like. And I went the first trip and I thought that wasn't too bad, so I'll do another one. And from there on for nearly 3 years, I never missed a trip. I loved it. And because I used to do the same work as the boys, apart from lumping the grain, there's only one bag of oats, as a matter of fact. It was lighter than the wheat and the barley, and the boys dared me to lug this bag of oats. So I jumped down the hold and I just put it on my shoulder and I just staggered across. And from there on, they never used to tease me. But no, I used to do my trick at the wheel the same, whether it was day or night, or swabbing decks down, or whatever was needed. And also when we were loading off, say, one of the wharfs like Ardrossan or somewhere, they used to have a chute off the truck up on the wharf. There was the horses that bring the trucks down. They'd put a chute up on the end of that, which ran down to the edge of the coamings on the ship, and they used to slide them down there. I used to turn them over all the time onto the boys' shoulders. And when the tide was too high and they wouldn't slide properly, I used to hop up on the coamings and grab one by ear and pull it down to the bottom like that. And they would just turn them over and put them in the hold. But it's only even the tide was too high. But apart from that, being the only girl, I was respected. Not that I expected it, but if there were 2 or 3 ketches, say in Price or somewhere up the Gulf a bit, you'd hear the boys sing out, "Hold it, boys, here comes the Lily." And there would be no real foul-mouthed swearing and all that sort of stuff going on. So they were very good to me. It was just like one big family. I mean, if we were stuck in port overnight because of weather or the cargo hadn't been brought down, half the time, if there were 2 other ketches there, all their boys would come over into our cabin, and we'd sit round there and smoke or talk till all ours, and then turn in. But they were like one big family. Yeah, we did nearly all the ports along Spencer Gulf, and also most of them, and nearly all the ports in St Vincent Gulf, all the way up from Edithburgh and Wool Bay and Dansbury and Ardrossan and Price, all of those along that side. We used to bring salt from Price, but the rest of it was grain or wool. But yeah, it was general. Oh, and Kangaroo Island, of course. Everyone had something special. I mean, and I can remember thinking when Murray took the ketch out, first trip after he married, I was scared stiff. He left at midnight, and he was going to Wool Bay, and there was no light even in the town, no support for a ship at all, and he had to find his way in there. The first trip he ever took the ketch out on his own, but he mastered it so easily. He was a really good skipper. This is Murray, who was my husband, passed away 30 years ago. But he was on the ketch with his father when he was only a lad, at 14 or 15, 16, and then he joined the Navy, and he did 6 years in the Navy, finished up a PO, and when he came out, he took over the Leillateah from his father. We bought it actually, and for the next 10 years we owned it and operated it. And Murray and I got married in 1946, and we were married, 30, 40 years nearly, and then he passed away 30 years ago. But a wonderful skipper, and he's a man that could do anything you name. He could cook or play music or build a house or build a magic yacht. He was one of those without any training at all. He could pull the telly to pieces or build you a radio. There's nothing that he couldn't do that I can name. And a wonderful natured man.